I'll just go ahead and share too.
Yeah,
There is Todd.
it is an amazing, amazing experience.
Yeah, yeah,
It
absolutely. More
it
than
is.
ever we could have ever imagined at this point in time, because um, we are really doing something phenomenal in essence, compared
Yeah.
to anything that we've even imagined in many ways. Because we would have thought that, or felt that we would have started and be more gradual. And I'm not saying it taking longer than where we're at right now, but more to giving us an opportunity to integrate the different stages. But we decided to ramp it up in a big way. So
I
here we are.
know. I was at that meeting. and then
Yes,
I
you
was
were.
and
Yes.
then I was at the meeting, and I'm saying this from just an innate energetic knowing, but then I was at the meeting where we saw the simulations, understanding that whatever actually occurs will be beyond any simulation we saw, and everybody was just standing there with their mouths wide open, going, "Holy crap!" Because a big part of what I've experienced over the last 3 weeks has been a union, divine union, in many ways. When I say that, not just Morgan and I, but a frequency that is such a convergence of the human and the soul.
Hmm.
It's mind blowing. It is absolutely mind blowing, and
going, holy crap.
oh,
Because a big part
you're.
of what I've experienced over the last few
I've
weeks
never interrupted
has been
myself
a
speaking.
union, divine union, in many ways.
It's gone now.
Hmm.
But anyway, what I was saying is, this is how I got it. So when we created this realm we call Earth, beloved Mother Earth, the universe to that point was what the universe was to that point, because the universe is always expanding. And from that point of creation, there was, let's just say, that level of technology, their maximum level of technology was implemented. And so the humans were providing code and information through the experiential, and almost from a let's see what our work did kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
like a
and
feedback and stuff. But go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. But I think what's happened now is and it had something to do on or around whatever it was, the March equinox. Um, Now something shifted to where the creation, the babies, have reached a level of union or of connection that's available and getting stronger, that I would call divine unity,
Right.
where we have literally hit the energetic um, reality of made in the image, and
Right.
fusing with that to a point where we're now actually providing code for all of us, because it's a new experience. And the craziest thing, which I can feel it in my bones, is it does involve the physical. So when we talk about teleportation, we're not just talking about being over there in the light body. The potential is that we could actually appear. I mean, and that's just one example.
Yeah, very much so. And the thing is, too, right now, what we're looking at, there's a lot going on energetically and so forth. So not only are we getting the stimulations, there's several levels to what's going on. What's coming in, like plasmic energy, which, we just had another blast starting yesterday and it's carrying on. Um, and this is kind of to really ramp things up until about the middle of May, before, because at the middle of May, we get something really unique and we're quite powerful. But at the same time, what's happening is not only a stimulation of purging our old world within ourselves, also to create adjustments in what our operating system went into kind of deterioration over the last 10,000 years.
Hmm.
But we're also getting upgrades. And it goes right back to what you just finished saying, in the fact that when all of this was written, when put together, it was 15,000 years ago. And a lot of things in our galaxy, universe, solar system has been upgrading. So a lot of the new codes that are coming in also are upgrading the operating system so that it is much more aligned with, our brother sister souls within the galaxy, all the other planets and so forth. Now, the other thing is too, even our DNA, even though the DNAs are being reactivated, it's also going through an upgrade because again, those are transmitter receivers, and those transmitter receivers are required to be able to communicate. So it's like going from an internet connection that was known as something else before because that's all the technology was available at the time, to the technologies that are available now. Of course, the internet, the cellular, all of that stuff has been increasing, for speed and whatever else. But it's the same thing with the DNAs. So the DNAs at this point in time are going through this whole process of actually being upgraded so that it can actually communicate more clearly with a lot of advancement, because most of our DNAs have never really gotten any updates since 10,000 years ago because it became offline for the most part. It still had the genetic codes of the body. Now, with the upgrades, there's something else, Todd, that it will, and it is already, restructuring our bodies, because our bodies are made from 12 different species. Each species has a genetic encodement. So as the communication is increasing, the upgrades are also increasing from those genetic codes that make up the physicality. So our physicalities are going through an upgrade. Now, the other part of it, of course, we've talked about this a lot, and then many other people have talked about it, from going from the carbon to silicate to crystal base. But it's not just going back to its original state. It's in an upgraded state because crystal, again, charges, increases in vibration and so forth as it's exposed to new energy. So these energies are coming in through. Gaia's been going through a lot of preparation. We're going through a lot of preparation. Now, when it comes to the chakras itself, I mean, our original design, we didn't have chakras. That was implemented and changed later on. So they're going for an upgrade right now, but that's temporary. It's just the bridge until, the chakras are no longer required, because now we are one channel of communication rather than having it divided, because each of the chakra has a particular streaming and communication to what we call our human experience, right? So the chakras are human experience based. The DNAs are also part of that, but it's also connected to other brother sister souls that are not in human form. But all of this is changing right now. So every time we get a blast, we will feel it. It can take us out for a while where we feel exhausted, or we feel confused, or we feel all types of different things. Other times we're going to feel energized and so forth. But what else is happening? And this is the thing that you've also noticed, and many other people are noticing too, is that as we're going through these upgrades, these so-called downloads, those levels of clarity, those have been there for a while trying to stream through us, but we're actually, receiving adjustments so that we can actually are more prepared to not only receive it, but also are tuning the channels, like going to the radio dial until you find the right frequency so that it's flowing through us a lot more powerful. So all of that is happening right now and has been happening for a while, but it's really, really accentuated. And the thing I said right in the beginning, the speed of all of this that's happening, and the consistency too, because it's not stopping. Well, you remember, Todd, you all went through it. This applies to everybody. Every time we got a pulse, every time we had a shift, there was a space of time that we had integration. And originally there was lots of time in between. But look at now, we get very little time, if any at all, because it's one after the other.
Yeah.
But the good thing about that is not only speeding it up, it doesn't give us a chance to stop the movement, because it's not about stopping the movement. It's about continuing. And then every verse just keeps us moving a lot faster. So regardless of all of the stuff that's going on, even with these new energies that are coming in now, that have been coming in specifically this year, but also part of last year, it is dwarfing a lot of the what people call negative energies, negative impacts, and so forth, so that it doesn't have the same capacities, the same impact on us as the narratives were, originally designed from that polarized, negative world of so forth. The other thing is too, because we have already been clipping off a lot of the really low frequencies within ourselves, we haven't been able to feed the same support mechanism that feed off the lower frequencies. This is why there's a more of a breakdown, not only because what's streaming from the sun and whatever else, and what the planet is interfering, but we ourselves can't even go that low. And if we even get even somewhat close, but you can't, it lasts a very short period of time because of the fact that our vibrational frequency has been experienced. Now, some people will turn around and say, hey, Franco, why do I still have these emotional charges and so forth? But pay attention to it. It doesn't hit you as hard, first of all. Second of all, you move through it a lot quicker, and then you're always creating an alignment for other clarity to come forth within yourself, to kind of remember you and to create a shift within yourself. So even though that we're going down the rabbit hole, going into that deep barrel of skimming off all of that other stuff that was created in the inverted matrix, it's coming to the surface not only easier, but we're moving through it a lot easier. And we're not even getting so caught up about any of the stuff we've taken in through the lineage, any of the stuff we have taken on from our family dynamics, any of the stuff from past lives. And we're talking about several different past lives: physical, human entity, and multidimensional soul. That stuff is not so much. Now, sometimes we have to visit it, because there's a nugget of some wisdom or some awareness there that needs to be visited. That's all. It's not about we need to go there to clear it. It's not about that anymore. That used to be the case. It hasn't been the case for a while now. So all of this is happening right now. And it just feels so amazing to be able to see this and look at it yourself too. And I wanted to talk about the Soulogy Fest that's coming up too, because we haven't had a chance to really get into the depth of it. I know you did a really great talk with Grace there. Christy, right? But the thing is too, with that, how many times have you attempted along the way to be able to do this? And it came right now. Why right now? Because first of all, more people are going to be ready for it. Second of all, the energies have aligned a certain way. There's been a preparation on your end too, because you needed to be much more crystal clear on certain things. And right now, the stage for that is phenomenal. Okay. Because not only is the area very powerfully energetic and has been upgrading, but we have been isolated for a while. And the coming together, specifically in person, but also available to a certain degree in online, being part of it, because as soon as we connect with that, we're involved in the energies there. So with the people coming together, you will notice, Todd, I mean, all of us have felt this need to be with people of certain vibrations, to hug, to share, to intermingle, because everyone's going to bring a very specific energy that's going to create a unified energy there that's so powerful. And it's not just because you're going to participate there, because that's a huge component, but it's also going to reflect throughout, not only the country, but throughout the world.
That's right.
Okay? And each one of us are going to bring back that seed, online and in person, to wherever we are, and it's going to accentuate even further. And it's almost like such perfect alignment in the sense of that we're getting another powerful burst on the 15th, and it gives us time to kind of integrate all of that before, getting involved with that, because there's another shift going on in June, which is opening up another channel of way of shifting things even more powerful. So it lands right in a peak moment of opportunity for all of us. This is for all of us, whoever chooses to participate or not, because it's still very, very impactful. And then everyone right now, see, the thing is, if we sat down together right now and discussed what we're going to be doing there, okay, it's going to be very different than what, 6 weeks from now.
That's right.
Because there's so much that's preparing in all of us in that 6 weeks. And even the ones that are deciding if they're going to come or not, they're going through a preparation. They're going through an opening of themselves to be part of it as they choose to do so. So there's so much going on in all of this, and it is phenomenal. And we all feel it to some degree, and it doesn't matter. Look at it this collectively too. Right now, there's still so much around this whole COVID thing, whatever else is playing out around it, the lockdowns or whatever else, even though many areas people are opening up again and so forth. And people are, not only standing up and saying, hey, we're not going to support this any longer. We're not going to endure this any longer. That wasn't possible before, but it is much more possible now because of the fact that we are creating these powerful shifts within ourselves. And each one of us that's been holding the space in not giving any power to that, it's like an avalanche. Each one of us is creating an avalanche wherever we are to even open up more people. And, we've all noticed that even the people that are more closed-minded as possible have really opened themselves up in a very powerful way to say, hey, there is possibly another way. Maybe we need to look at this a little differently. Do we really need to be this? And one other thing, you know what's happening? And I don't know if you've noticed it, Todd, probably everybody to some degree or another. The new modality, no, that's not even the right word. The new theme that's coming up. And I noticed it creeping in before, but it's really, really ramping it up. And I think we're going to feel it a lot more going down the road, is the fact that if life has to be held in safety or the fact of fear, life is not worth living. So it's like, F it, I'm living life. And also the realization that life expands life.
Yep.
Life enlightens life to a point where, so this is the thing right now, it doesn't matter how much pushback there is and how much, like people call fear porn or whatever else that's brought up. It's really, getting to that saturation point and people saying, we're not going there anymore. That's it.
Right.
Because life is not worth it. I want to interact. I want to play. I want to be with others. I want to have a blast. And that's it.
Yeah. And if that's already available or soon to be available, that in itself is a huge step, or even a benchmark, a marker point for
Absolutely.
the level of conscious awareness that's affecting our daily life in terms of, being more conscious in what you do and how you affect things. So if that's the case, I don't know what's coming in June, and I'm not looking ahead. I'm right here in this moment, but I can't even imagine what would December would be in so many different facets of our life. I mean, it's for instance, I'm here in Arkansas, which is a pretty conservative state. I think Trump was like 67% in the elections over here. And they're good people. And so Walmart's from Arkansas, it's born and bred. And I live in a small town. You got to go to Walmart. So I go to Walmart since the state on the first, absolved or not absolved, but got rid of the mask mandate.
Right.
And you walk in, and I was amazed at how many people didn't have a mask. Then these are your typical, or let's just say stereotypical, and I'm not in judgment, I'm just saying how we might see things. An unawakened middle America living in a small town, run by a Walmart. I mean, there was a lot of people. I'd say probably 75% didn't have a mask.
Yeah. And that's the two parts there, because the one part is basically, okay, if I'm going to enjoy whatever I'm going to do and interact, I'm not going to wear that mask, because that actually creates, there is a discomfort to it in a sense, not even just the physical part, but you don't feel free to speak or anything of that nature because you're behind it. And there's the mask holds an energy of limitation and slavery. And so it, I'm sure you've had the experience, you know, and you're in a great space now because you don't have to wear it. But anybody that's been wearing it off and on, it feels weird. But when you take it off, it's like, oh, it's freer, you know, and like your whole energy, you go through an energy shift. Believe it or not, you have an energy shift just from a heart level and throughout your body. Just removing that. And I'm not even talking about oxygen and carbon dioxide buildup or no, it's not that. It's just that. And it's so much harder now for people, especially if they've gone through a lot of shifts, to put it on, even when, you know, they're walking on, because I know people all over the world, and I know here you can't even do anything without it. But, and they've already closed down all the parks again and so forth. It's just insane. But to put it on, it really, it feels even more uncomfortable than before, because before you kind of felt, you know, I can put it on, it's safe, whatever it is. Now it's like nonsense, and not even nonsense. It's just like you're putting on, before it was fabric or now it's like putting a metal mask on. That's how it feels, because it's so foreign, because we have changed so much. People are changing.
Yeah, rapidly. That's what I mean. It's like I can see this. You know, I saw go back to I think it was Relationship Connections. I think it was number 70. And there's a part in there where you talk about the active consciousness. Mm-hmm. And I know we talked about this before, but to see that diagrammed on the board where you see, and I'm not going to get it right, but it's really the same thing, where the active consciousness has always been comprised of these different elements. And right. you could say higher self, soul, you could say ego, mind, heart, gut, energy, body. I mean, there's several different streams of this reality. And you were talking about how basically, and at least the way I got it, was there really a balance was coming forth.
Correct.
And so, you know, I think about that, watching that, and now having experienced it, observed it, and then start to experience it, and then start to see the purity and the reality of what you said earlier, that living feeds life. So, you know, it's like you're looking through this kaleidoscope of, you know, this multiplicity of the same image in all these different ways. And you're actually in touch with all of them, but they all say the same thing. You feed this, it feeds you. Mm-hmm. And the information is moving so fast. If you go back to the metaphoric or reality of, you know, our galactic aspects, vibrationally sending this information to us, getting everything they ever expected, and all of a sudden the baby is born, and here we are, and the information is moving really in a action-reaction simultaneous thing that, you know, is coming online. So who knows? I mean, I'm absolutely open to, we wake up tomorrow, there's no time and space, and I'm absolutely open to, this might take 50 years, but it's very obvious to me that something's shifting so rapidly and so under the radar, because it operates in a totally different way. It's just purity, what somebody's eyes look like, what their body gestures are, what their resonance of their voice is. Truth is coming through in every single way, that it's just getting louder, and you can't argue with it.
Exactly. Well put. Absolutely. And I mean, the thing is too, with all of this that's going on, like on the back end of things that are changing within, like you said, it's there. It's the whole, really, the foundations are being completely redone, and we're redoing it. And as much as that we may not be so superly conscious of it all the time, we feel it. We already have that knowing within us, and we sense the knowing. We may deny it at times, or get caught up. But the thing is, like you were saying, the input that our overall consciousness is taking in from our body in its innate ability, its human entity and all of its experience, skill sets, and also the multidimensional soul, is taking on a huge role compared to what the ego was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And because most of the time before, we had such a fragmentation, and the alignment wasn't there to the same degree. There was always an alignment, but it was the ratios were completely off, and there was no alignment. And in fact, too, didn't matter unless the body screamed or something of that nature. We wouldn't notice it until your human entity would, give you a gut, wrench.
Or the universe will give you a 2x4 to the head.
Yeah, exactly.
But
because
but
the
you're
ego was so loud. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say something that you just said, because you said a lot. But I mean, in the middle of it, there was this I thought was pretty important. And so you were describing the the imbalance in that active consciousness, and so you're just as much off the mark if you are, let's just say, asleep and your ego's dominating in a fashion that looks like you're very 3D, or even with some of the information we received, it is so powerful and it's challenging to the ego, especially if you're getting hit with one right after the other, So it's you can feel it coming together. You can feel the failure leaving. You can feel the regret leaving. You can feel this surrender is the experience. I have a strong feeling is going to be far more mind-blowing than where we end up. Because where we've been, and we're just creating new, beautiful, incredible ways to get there again. Yeah,
exactly. And the thing is, too, our overall consciousness has been heavily infected or affected, let's use that word, by the media and everything else that other people have been regurgitating around when I'm talking about stuff that really reflected the inverted 3D world and 2D world. So part of these changes is that noise, that input, besides the ego too, is now being filtered out, and less of it is coming in. And you will notice it, and I'm sharing because so that people can notice it in themselves, that no matter what they're hearing from the media, first of all, the interest will shift away hugely. Second of all, whatever they're receiving, it doesn't affect them the same way. They're not even concerned about it in that regards. And they can see it as talking heads of sorts, for example. And also the interactions with other people to stimulate that overall consciousness will change too, because if they're not in alignment with you, or they're talking at your level, because you'll notice that's not going to come in too. So the input is being really filtered out, and in most cases turned off from other resources, so that the consciousness, because the consciousness is regrowing, it's actually restructuring itself so that it uses the input from the three key inputs in itself rather than what the external. When we're looking at the world, Todd, is most of us went through a period of time that our world was the makeup of what we, like our world, our own personal reality, and what we experienced was really dominated by what we saw around us, who we interacted, what we watched, what we exposed, what we ate, what we did and didn't do. Okay. Besides all the other stories that we've taken on. And we didn't see too much more than that, because the part of us that was wanting our attention was being drowned out, because that was our focal point. But now, why are we keep saying go within? Because the thing is, we're shifting away from the external world as the dictation or dictator of our life, or the reflection of the world to kind of shape us. We're now going into connecting in ourselves, finding that new world inside of us, taking all of that we have available, and now we're streaming it out rather than receiving it. Now, the only receiving we would still have is a feedback to see, okay, this is what I streamed, what's coming back. Okay, I may have to tune it some more, stream some more, and so forth, rather than waiting. Because look at, when we're talking about how many people have lived their life getting approval from others,
Right.
that is an exemplified or accentuated version of letting the world or others tell you if you're good or not good, if you're doing it right, or do you comply, or do you live in their world. That's a strong reflection of what we're looking at, is the outside world telling us how to live. Where now what we've been experiencing for most people is they don't want to have anybody else tell them what to do or what the world is like. They want to be their own self-expression. And that's part of the shift of that consciousness that we started talking about, that the consciousness now is shifting away from that and is using the key instrumental inputs rather than outside. So it doesn't matter what anybody's saying or whatever's doing. It can observe it, but it's not using that as, oh, okay, I need to adjust to fit in here. Fitting in, and I'm sure you've seen it, the fitting in really has very little power over anyone that's actually been going through this powerful shift. And now others, still, give a lot of power to that, but then they are still not ready for that, and that's okay, and they won't be even listening to this. But I'm just saying,
You only fit in to find out you don't.
that's the other thing. I mean, you could try that out for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think especially these empaths, the people that are really deeply empathic, they figured that out now. They figured that out a few years ago, I think.
Well, if you're very sensitive to energies, you can feel automatically when you go into a scenario or family dynamics or anything of that nature, work or whatever it is, and you're trying to fit. You can feel the heaviness of the energy. You can feel how it shifts you. That goes back to the same thing with the impact. You can feel it and go, oh, no, that doesn't match. Doesn't even feel comfortable for me. I'm not going to support that. And then unless you can be yourself in that environment, which most cases you have a chance to do so, but if it's still very stagnant and you can't be totally yourself, I mean, you can be yourself, but it's not accepted, then you're going to walk away from it because it's not your playground anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we've talked about that over the years. I mean, there's been an evolution to everything, but the level of information available each morning when you wake up and throughout the day, sometimes several times, like you said, I mean, it's what we plan to do on stage at Soulogy Fest. It's like push the balls that direction. You really don't have to say anything to anybody and show up, because it's going to be in its most powerful potential in that moment. And I've brought up the spontaneous for a long, long time. And this came in again in these past 10 days or so. That there is no greater space. There is no greater wisdom or power or love or potential or anything than the moment. And so it's no different than when we put ourselves into a state, some people call it meditation, trance or whatever, reaching a point where thought leaves and the journey begins. It's like we're bringing that point, which has been anchored through individuals in their own experience, and there's enough of that energy coming together now. And it's how do you say this? I mean, it's like what we've known is they don't call it 3D for nothing. So it's a table with some pencils and paper on it. And the way this other thing works is this space that I sit in with this table and the pencils and papers on it is beyond a multiversal.
Hmm.
Container. It's mind blowing,
Yeah.
and we got to remember that too. The part of the human liking, wanting to understand, needing to understand. That's the ego. This other thing is a total, and people talk about surrender, but it's beyond surrender.
Hmm.
It's going to a point where you become that which you were surrendering to.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's like all the Akashic, somebody put a stick of dynamite under it and it just fractalized into all of our inner being.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is too, for anybody that chooses to come into the Soulology Fest environment and so forth, each and every person will get exactly what they need, how they need it to launch them even further and so forth. It's not going to be cookie cutter. Everybody gets the same thing out of it. Doesn't matter. You're going to be drawn to different speakers, different things, but even though there's like a broad spectrum of energies there, you're going to connect with the energy that best serves you right now or that time, and that's the beauty of it, because even all of the energies that are coming in right now have been coming in for a while. Each one of us are taking in exactly what we need, how we need it, and others we are taking it in, but we're not maybe launching it or activating it right away because we're not quite there yet. And there's no, we have to understand that there's not ready and unready, meaning I'm not prepared or haven't done my work or anything of that nature. It's not really about that. It's because, I mean, there's a beautiful divine plan that you are executing for yourself, and
Mhm.
also working in a collaborative. So when to introduce and every part of it, when to activate certain parts, because some of us make agreements to slow down the process to a certain level for a while and then really launch it further, because of the agreements that you may have made with other people in your life, or that there's still some stuff you need to sort out. So don't, it's not to feel bad what's happening or not happening in your life and so forth. And even when it comes to people, I hear a lot of people, well, I feel more lonely and things of that nature. It's not because there's people or not people there. uh, the thing is, whenever you're ready to really interact without the ego saying, "Oh, I need to have people around me," the connections will happen anyways, and we're all interconnected with one another. But the loneliness is it's the ego's version of saying, "Hey, wait a minute, that's connect with people and whatever else," because it
I'm
creates,
lacking. I'm lacking
yeah,
something. Yeah.
lacking, and it causes more
Yeah.
distraction, really.
Well, I think part of the reason there's been an emphasis on solitude, yeah, through this this grand design of 2020, is yeah, there's an energetic purpose that you can't f with that's coming. So that's that being quiet thing. And I got to tell you too, of course, a lot of people know about Morgan and I and our journey, and the what the message, the metaphoric, the reality, I don't know how to explain it, of the energies as we've gone through what we've gone through. She lands in Australia I think within the hour. There, at least it was my experience, our experience, that there was a level of, like I said at the very beginning before everybody came in, there was a level of unification anchored onto the earth, and I'm sure by many, many people. I watched it and I saw it and I experienced it. And more than anything, it showed me that uh, it's such a limitless power and potential that we can literally do anything. And in terms of how we get there, and we've got all these different ways to talk about it, what you're talking about is the number one thing. So I have an experience with her the night before she leaves. and some people might call it sacred sexuality. I wouldn't call it anything. Hate to even put the words sex in there, but it was something beyond, and it was so fun. And we've had many experiences, but it was so far out there. It was literally a physical dimensional experience, in the physical being somewhere else, like I talked about earlier. But so my point is, and to your, in respect to what you were talking about, and the potential, the other side of it. You know, we're always thinking about what we're going into when what's on the other side. So when I went to bed last night, after dropping her off that afternoon, I started to get a little bit shaky, and this wasn't a normal thing. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I went and laid down, and I immediately connected. And the same thing occurred that had occurred the night before in the physicality. And then it goes on from there. But the real message to me was there's no, time is already fading and space is next. And this is what I referred to at the beginning, was the potential of it. I never thought, hey, you can teleport, or you can go have lunch on Venus, or whatever the case is. But this body is, it looks physical, but it is a Merkaba. Mm-hmm. So Katie, bar the fucking door, because I think people are going to do some amazing things over these next few years.
And the thing is, too, what you experienced with Morgan the night before, that actually created a much more powerful connection, knowing that the two of you would have distance, so that and this is why you were able to have it last night also, because of the fact that next level of connection and level of communication, even with distance. So part of that process was actually to collapse the distance at the same time. Mm-hmm. So you have that much more active than ever before, because at times it wasn't as much necessary, because you had each other, and you can actually experience that connection even in that, what you call that sacred union. But now you've turned something on to be able to have that sacred union, no matter what, from a human perspective, that there's distance, but the distance is not there. You may not see and touch it the same way, but I can tell you one thing: if you experiment with it, and whenever you are connecting with her, you will be able to still feel her. You will be able to.
Oh, let me tell you, that's what I was just talking about.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we understand. And again, we're a microcosm of we're mirrors. And so, our normal procedure is, she pulls in the information. I receive it either at the same time or shortly thereafter. Usually I get mine through body sensations, which is nice. But what I'm getting at is we understand through what we've been through in the time leading up to her leaving yesterday, that there was some higher frequency, more specifics to what we might call missions. Mm-hmm. And a big part of that is understanding that the emphasis now is how the emphasis was when we met, which was you first connect in the etherics and you build the foundation. And that was just our role. And then you come together and it powers up, and then you move apart. So in the beginning, fielding we talk about anchoring or embodying, but it's almost a reverse now. So we're taking that experiential time, and then we're tightening the threads in the etheric. And then when we come together the next time, we've seen what's going to happen. And what, the importance of this is, what does that mean to all of us? It's wide open. And you put out some great things. I mean, I say that these 72, 73, 74 advancing consciousness, they're mini seminars, and they're straight up. It's phenomenal. It's a living Akashic record. It's a a marker for the next generation, so to speak. But if you look at as fresh as that stuff is, and really your stuff's not, you've had it for 30 years. You just didn't want to tell anybody because the time wasn't right.
People weren't
The time
right.
was
Exactly,
right.
yeah.
The time wasn't right. But like it still go back to what you said earlier. 6 weeks from now, everything changes. I mean, we're literally waking up and everything is expanded. Understanding, clarity, ability. I mean, everything is so expanded that you literally are newborn.
Exactly. And the new, the new generation that you were talking about, the next legacy coming through, it's through us. And yes, of course, we're going to have new people coming in, but at the same time, we were actually rebirthing ourselves brand new and even more advanced than when we started. So that new generation is coming through us too.
Yeah.
Meaning that we are part of that new generation. That new generation is that advanced version of ourselves that are not playing in the other realms anymore.
Yeah. And to go along with that, it was kind of coming from the other side. So when I connected last night, the first thing that happened, which hadn't happened as vividly in a long time, the room filled up with what I could only call ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
And they were ancestors obviously connected to me, right?
Right.
And then it was almost like my team, her team, our team. And I watched all of that fusion of 2 to 1. But this is what this whole thing is. I mean, I say just in layman's terms, how are you going to get to one? How are you going to get to 10 people having oneness if you can't do it with one? So you got to start with 2. So this is our story, all of us. This is the human story. This is the real code that the universe is gaining. It's this pure human experience as we gain all this knowledge. So that what I describe that we are is a frequency that abides in this place that we're developing. Correct. And there may be more, you know what I mean? There may be Christ consciousness. There may be there may be all these different types, but I can tell you one thing, this is one. And what's exciting to me about it is because it is a fusion of physical and non-physical, which means so many things beyond, the example that I give.
Yeah, exactly. And the part that you said about, the unification or the experiencing the oneness with one other person, there is one step before that, and that is the oneness within yourself.
Yes, of course.
Most people do not realize that the first step, and I'm not saying you didn't, but I'm just saying I want for the people that don't understand it. The first step is uniting with yourself, that oneness within yourself, with your body, your human entity, with your soul, with your overall consciousness and all of that, experiencing the oneness. Because to have you cannot experience oneness unless you're one with yourself with another.
That's right. You can't.
Exactly. You can't.
I mean, if you look at that, and that's a perfect, first of all, you can't, you can't. But to me, that oneness, at least in this incarnation, right? That oneness with yourself is the 0 point. That's it, right? I mean, that's your core, and that's what it is. Now we're in this physicality. So it's almost like we took steps, we're coming backwards 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. You get the 0 point. Now this is the first step out. Well, the first step you walk out with, it is that. And then we have this physical experience where we can, in many moments, in many types of relationships, in any, you know what I mean? You can experience this for maybe a little while, maybe a long time, maybe forever. But I really believe this is the trajectory that we're all on.
Yep.
The other thing I'll say about what has come in, what my experience has been and what I've observed in her, what I've observed in just the feel of the shows, is that regardless of the end all cure all, so to speak, that is I am soul, that we're at this oversoul level both in ourselves and with each other and with the universe. And everything from there is just play.
Yeah.
But for the last, in this period of time, the last 2 or 3 weeks, the mission, the galactic message mission, or the galactic guidance or template that's so many people have been, visited with, basically, seems to kind of has, like, you're clicking. You've hit this point. Like, I could feel that. Does that make any sense with what you've received?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, with all of what we're experiencing right now, there is that bringing back into alignment and into that oneness with even the galactics and the universe and so forth. So there is kind of an embracing of coming forth and saying, okay, great, you're coming back. It's like we're getting familiar again, because we've lost the familiarity of our multidimensional aspect of ourselves. And we lost the familiarity, how it feels to be part of this. Because the moment you embrace yourself, that's already powerful. The moment you embrace everybody on the planet, that's another level of powerfulness. The moment you embrace the whole solar system, that's another level. When you're embracing the galaxy and now you're embracing the universe, you're now, it's like you're creating or connecting with a larger family. And this is why there's been so much emphasis on working with us. It's like, come on home. Come on home, let's play together, rather than you being out there playing by yourselves. But, like we were saying, we have to play with ourselves personally, then with other people, and then of course the collective of our planet and so forth. So it's the coming home. So our galactic brother sister souls are the galactic is in saying, not only coming home, but come home to yourself and all the other levels, and we'll do whatever we can, never to take away your opportunity to do what you need to do at this point in time. But
like we're all in here waiting for you.
Yeah.
It's true, though. It's true, and that's part of what I felt in the last night was the you could see the internal cosmic machinations of what was actually happening. It's not out there. It's all right here.
Yeah.
Like, all I gotta do is put my hand out, and there you go. I mean, so what's that going to look like in a month? What you know what I mean? You could take anything that's happened to any of us in the last 2 weeks and say, well, now to expand that, extrapolate that out on what we call the linear timeline. The way this stuff's coming in. I mean, I've listened to you for, I think, 2 years, and I've gradually seen your excitement. And even today you were just like, you're bursting. You're like a starburst. You're just, I mean, and I think you even actually said something early on, like, it's exciting to see. But the energy of it to me was, man, I've known about this for a long, long time, and it's actually happening. I mean, you can't wipe the grin off your face.
No, and that's the beauty of it. It's like you in a way you waited so long to come this way, and now it is. And it's actually exciting, and I'm sure you feel it in yourself as things are moving so fast right now. Neck speed breaking, whatever they call it, neck break speed or something, whatever.
Breakneck speed. You're like me. I can't remember all those easy things.
Yeah. It actually brings up even more excitement. And then, the thing is, you brought up a good point there, is that whenever I'm dealing with the galactic teams and so forth, they're excited too. Maybe they don't express it the same way, but you can see it in their energy. And it's almost like, it's, how can I say it? If you had a long lost brother that you had a really strong connection with, but somehow through whatever, you don't see each other anymore. You haven't talked to each other. Now it's almost like there's things that are preparing that, you're going to reconnect with this brother of yours and really bring things to the next level. And that's how it feels whenever I'm with them. It's like there's an excitement of coming home, an excitement of, hey, let's play together more, because we weren't playing more. We were in quarantine, but it wasn't a punishment. It wasn't quarantine because of whatever, because we really wanted to see what we could do here on our own without having the same level of connection that originally was established. And that's gone now. The quarantine, all that stuff is gone, and there's much more connection, but it's being introduced a little bit at a time, along the way. Now we do have, still some of the interference stuff that's still coming along, the kind of some of the downloads that come in. And when I say downloads, I'm not talking about that. More some of the channeling stuff comes in. Sometimes they can be skewed, and we have to kind of really connect with the energies that's coming in. And that's because a lot of people haven't been founding. But if you're tuned in, you could say, oh yeah, that's not coming from the highest source. It's still like an old channel watching an oldie, or somehow, to kind of throw us off path. But you know what I like about when you get thrown off path? Then people try to go back into resort to themselves and really connect with themselves, and then say, yeah, that doesn't resonate, or whatever it is. Because it's like, we don't want to put our power into other aspects of ourselves. We want to work together, and it's always us. It's really about us. I mean, when you really look at it, it's us, right? And what you said before, you're looking up and you're saying, okay, you're looking at the beings and whatever they are. They're not even outside of, like you said, they're inside, but they're it's like the field. We're in the field, and we got kind of conditioned that they're up there, in their ships, whatever else. But there really are no ships, I know. In the non-projected.
It's in a sense, it's all of our thoughts. It's a much bigger thing than that. But I mean, energetic thought. They're all mixing. They're all collecting. They're all. Yeah. But God, what were you just talking about?
About looking up and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that's funny you say that, because as of probably about a week ago, my new motto when I lay down is, I'm going to drop in. I'm not going to look out there. I'm dropping in. And that's exactly how I had that experience last night with those ancestors, because I knew they were me. I'd seen them before, but I went in, literally, it was almost like I was staring into my chest cavity, and there was a golden light with a fire, and these brothers are all hanging around.
Exactly. Yeah, and one thing I can throw in there, just to expand what you just said, and that was great. I'm glad that you shared that, because it deepens the understanding. Because what happens is, even in the process, whenever I'm connecting with my galactic friends and so forth, I'm not flying off into a ship or anything of that nature. You're basically feeling like you just changed the channel, and your whole environment just changed. You never moved. Everything just, you're now seeing it, and all of a sudden you're on the ship, or you're in a group having a discussion or something of that nature. And it just, I don't feel myself going, oh, I'm flying off somewhere and I'm being beamed up or something of that nature. No,
that's actually, yeah.
The screen just changes. But like you said, you're just stepping into that other part of the world, because everything is in you anyways, right? So
I'm laughing because we went on at 5 your time, so at 4:10 my time, I'm sitting there going, how the hell am I going to do this? I mean, I'm just still trying to get on the planet, since I woke up a few hours before. And so anyway, one thing led to another. Started having a few heart palpitations. So I laid down in the bedroom and, blackened the room out, and I laid there. But the reason I'm laughing is because, it's because, well, essentially, that's what we do. That's what seems to be working. The people have been talking about it, being with your feelings, being with what the energy of your body feels like, whatever you want to call it. And that's what happened. I felt like I was going to have like like implode, like everything was going to go like into a black hole and come out. Maybe that's what happened. But my point is that, we have looked, because again, everything is programmed through suggestion, belief, belief overlays. And and they're not ill-intended, but we were raised to go, hey, God, are you up there, or whatever. And so we've even done that, but we've embodied enough of our multidimensional aspects, and we're far enough along. The story's kind of gone now. The only story that makes any sense to me at all is the one that we're all talking about, that no one has all the pieces, but they all match together, which has got some galactic lineage, it's got soul lineage, it's got human aspect lineage, it's got all this different stuff, and it's the road that was formed that we're trying to form.
Yep. Well, the thing is, what you just said there will lead into one little thing I want to mention.
Yeah.
Each multidimensional soul has a different frequency, and it has a different signature. It's like an access code, like a combination. Okay. Same thing with the human entity, same thing with the bodies. Why? Because it's exactly what you just said, that each one of us carries a piece, and it's done that on purpose, so that even if we are having what looks like a separate experience, it's a holistic experience. And each one of us is a piece of that. And this is why when we come together, why it feels so great to be with others, because each one of us is holding a piece of the key, or a part of the key, or part of the combination for the whole thing. So source, spirit essence of source, which is us, all of us in creation, did that very purposefully. Now, even when we're talking about oversouls and we're talking about soul families, and our twin soul has the exact same frequency key as we do, but we go out and have different experiences. Our soul family have a very similar, except for the last two kind of digits, so that those pieces that come together as the oversoul are accentuating in a way, experientially enriched and so forth, so that as it's connected, because none of it is non-connected, everything is connected, each one is another piece. So even when I've used the example for years now, is that each one is a piece of the puzzle. Yeah. And when we take these pieces of the puzzle and we start putting it together, we make something more holistic. But that's only another piece of the puzzle. And that piece of the puzzle connects with the other pieces of the puzzle and so forth. So whenever you go through the process of saying, okay, I'm now merged with my twin soul in non-form, you're now basically taking those two pieces and linking it together, making it one piece. But that one piece is still part of another 12 different fragmented or split duplicate souls, which make your soul family. But again, that's just another piece that connects to other soul families and so forth. And it goes on. So many of us have chosen to come here to express that piece and to unify with other pieces. Each one of us, this is the key we have to understand, is that when we are connecting with people, we're assisting each other to amplify and also at the same time crystallize our piece so that we fit in even better. And when I say fit in, not fit in because we need to be trained, fitting into the slot of that state. So the reason that we're connecting right now, and all of us that are on here right now, we're all in one way or another refining ourselves as the pieces that we are. And that makes the whole. And the thing is, every piece, not one piece is better than the next, not one piece is more instrumental than the next. Every piece is important, and every piece plays a very vital role in the whole thing. And I remember when I was told, I was shared this with my guide and also the team that I was a few decades ago. And it was presented that the stage we were going into, which is what we're going through right now, it was not the completion of you, like the individual expression of you. It's not about you per se. It starts there, but it's the you that makes up the planetary experience. That means every facet of you. So the evolution or the enlightenment process includes much.
So what you just said is another way you could say it is that active consciousness. Yet, I guess in that pool of consciousness, there is stuff beyond the active consciousness. But you're just saying that in this period where we're aligning. It's not just what we think it is.
Exactly.
It's the whole thing. And that's what I was thinking when you were talking too, because I was getting very strongly for myself, and again, I know as an individual goes, so goes a collective, that the particulars of the lineage memories, which really you could say another way, the code of the experiential through these things that you're describing, and again, far more than just the human aspect and the other incarnations and all that, but that it's coming in louder and clearer. And it seems to me that, and I was actually shown when I saw what I was referring to as Morgan's team, and I've never had this really happen to this extent, and it was all in color and light language. So it was all this information that was coming through, and with it there was tidbits of memories of lives we've had and different things, but the main thing is this information's coming on. So I started thinking about it when you were talking, and I was like, okay, so we've seen people convey their memory, their recall, and I know to a degree, just by osmosis, we're in doing so, because that's energy we're pushing forth code. But this seemed to be a little bit different. This seemed to be like this code is not only bringing all that, but it's also bringing almost like I wanted to say an upgrade to an operating system, but it's almost like a new operating system. Boom. And then boom, and then boom, kind of like what you're talking about, because there is a higher clarity with it. But I don't know. I wonder how that's going to happen, Franco. I mean, do you see like a vast, 180 alteration to our what we would call our normal experience? Do you see that being something that's going to materialize?
Yeah, absolutely. I can connect it with your Soulogy One, the network. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of back end testing, this and that going on. And there's a lot of building up that's happening, which a little bit of is released a little bit at a time. But then it comes to a point like you almost switch on the switch and it's like we're live and we're going for it. And so forth. And that's what we're preparing for. And that's what we've been doing. So every time we have like a flick of live, it may be short, but it already sets a precedence of how it's going to be. And there's a feedback and tweaking and so forth that's coming in. The other thing is too, that one of the key understandings that I had at the time was that it's not about us coming here and say, okay, I'm going to get involved and I'm going to leave, and whatever I leave is a legacy and I move on. No, it's about you being you to a certain degree, where you're now not only instrumental to change everything, but as you're doing so, the whole collective harmonizes in such a way that it becomes you of everybody that's on the planet, type of thing. And one of you is that really crystal piece that is being brought online. So there's a lot of tweaking behind it and everything else that's going on, and then it gets kind of flicked on of sort. So everything that we imagine now as saying, oh, this is too big to turn around, doesn't matter how much we're doing and so forth. And I hear this from people time to time. It's like, how is this all going to come online? You'll be blown away by how fast it can shift overnight, because it's just flicking it back on, and it's going to be flicked on. And the thing is too, even when we're connecting to any past, okay, we're connecting to maybe past lives that we've had in the multidimensional. Those are no longer in existence. They ended the moment it ended, so even if you step back there at any point in time, it's going to be very different, because we're very different. Everything is changing. And we're changing such profoundness on every level. Like, it's interesting. Every time I connect with the Oversoul, in the sense, very specifically, just to kind of it's like walking into the library and you're trying to decipher certain parts of it. Now, mind you, a lot of the Oversouls have combined in my own soul, but at the same time, when you're ever going into those compartments, you'll see that each time is like, all brand new books are there. I'm just giving you an example. There's almost new content there because everyone that's there is actually been, they're going through their upgrades. And these upgrades are not only specifically for us. They're like, we're in all of these dimensions that are in different physical forms. They're going through it. We may, like this advancement or this speed up is happening everywhere, but it's not felt to the same degree as we're feeling it here right now because of the fact we're going through such from one extreme to bringing it forth in a very powerful way to another level. And because we were so far in the extreme and we allowed it to be in that extreme, not that there was a mistake about that, but it was a really interesting experiment and say, okay, let's see how far we can move, how fast we can move, and set a new precedence of instantaneous or much more powerful and large state. Now, I know we can do things instantaneously, absolutely. But what we have to understand, for us to have that instantaneous activation, we've already had to design what we're switching into. That may take a little bit of work. So how does that come about? Not only our personal experience and whatever we're receiving, but also any other inputs that we're going in through. So to be able to do what we're doing right now, to the speed that we're doing, there's been a lot of galactic work that's been going on. There's been a lot in the universe. There has been a lot in our solar system that has been in the works for quite some time. But that didn't stop there because it cannot be launched until many of us have gone through the work that we've gone through to bring it online, because it still has to go through us. And like you say all the time, that the human is the hero, the human is the conduit, the human is the designer, the human is what is the channel that makes it happen. And it cannot happen without the human, because whenever they retool a planet, there are no beings on the planet. They reset the whole thing and then they reseed everything. But then when they're reseeding it, they're creating a new alignment. But this is different. What we're doing now is redesigning it through us, because we're the ones that are part of the redesigning. And then, we're also bringing in all the upgrades.
It's like being in a, I think of those, what are they called? Terrariums. I know back in the 70s, it was a big deal. They're clear and you have your own little garden, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I picture that's our petri dish. We're all standing outside looking in, and the experience, and we utilize ourselves as raw material for the experiment. So we're both on the outside and on the inside. I mean, what a brilliant method of getting real-time information.
Exactly. There's one little caveat on top of that, is that the way we're doing it right now is every intervention and every adjustment, tweaking that we do, we get a feedback, and through that feedback, we redesign or upgrade the design or do something of that nature, what the next step is. This is why we don't know what any implementation is going to be. We can go with an intent of saying this is what we'd like to achieve, but nothing is firm at all. This is why there is no future. Okay. Nothing is firm, because we implement, feedback, adjust, implement, feedback, and so forth. And the frequency of how many times we do that is accentuated. Before, it was not the same. We had a long period of time of integration and watching before we take a feedback. Now it's millisecond feedback in a sense, at times. I'm not saying all the time, but we're having that millisecond feedback of what do we just next. And we may not realize how much we're involved in it because it's all coming through us. But the thing is, the more you connect with that, you can see every introduction. And sometimes the introductions are temporarily, but also pulled back, because it's like, the feedback was not exactly, what we wanted to do. And we can come up with something else and we'll introduce something new. And then the feedback, okay, we can build on this.
Yeah.
And some parts you say, well, okay, it's like you're building a house. You're bringing in materials. You're going to put the materials in. Yeah, no, that doesn't fit. Okay. Yeah, this material fits. Okay, great. Let's continue building it on top of this material. But then that one material that may have been brought in before may fit somewhere else. Or maybe not. Right. And it's that type of construction of sort. I'm just using that as loose terms, is what we're doing right now. It's like mind-boggling. When I see it, I'm like in phenomenal awe. And then this is sometimes what people feel when I'm speaking, because I'm bringing that honest, which we all have within ourselves, because a lot of us feel it. And sometimes, you have to notice, sometimes you just feel fantastic, like you feel like something just got triggered of joy and whatever else.
You got switched on.
Switched on, and you don't even know what did I do?
Well, that's that you bring that up too. Morgan's landed, by the way. I love you, Morgan.
Awesome.
So yeah, I mean, now I was thinking about her, so I got lost in the sacred sexuality. What were you just saying? I remember.
Well, the launching and feedback and so forth, and the quick adjustment, and then feeling the joy, the instantaneous joy, spontaneous. You don't even know where it came from,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we've talked about, and I say we. I'm not just talking about us, but I mean, like in the community, a lot of discussion about how this all happens, and it's just like, and even cliches, well-meant cliches, like, it's all about the moment, well, yeah, you can hear that, but to actually be put into that space, it's not just like, oh, wow, this is cool. It is, but at the same time, your human's like going, holy shit, what's happening here? Like, what do you do? I mean, and again, it's moving so fast. So these little conversations you have are like that, and they're becoming not even words. They're just like, I guess that's what they call, the neural pathways connecting and all that. Yeah.
Let me throw something in for you, because what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
The cliches of being in the moment and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you right now, you're not whole in the past. You're not whole in the future. The only place you're whole is in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That means you are the whole universe in the moment only. The moment you're projecting forward or you're looking back at the past, you are leaving the whole. You're not one.
Right.
You're leaving actually 0.2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so just pay attention to that. And so there's much more to there's only the moment, or being in the moment, is that's where you have your power, your wholeness. You're basically in the moment. You're the purest level of sourceness, because that pureness continues to expand.
That's right.
But
that's
yeah. Go ahead.
That's what I was saying earlier. There's nothing more powerful than the moment. You can have anything you want. You can, and I love what you said earlier too, when we were talking about Morgan and I, is use the word experimenting. And I guess in a way that's what it is, but certainly, intending as an individual and, in this experiment too, and getting familiar with what's already there. Mm-hmm. And expanding on that. And I think two things on the moment. One is we can be conscious about it, but two, everything I'm seeing is putting us there. It's pushing us from all sides, from the parallel universes to the future and the past and everything else. Even like these things that you were talking about at the beginning of the show, when you were talking about, I forget how you were referring to, but like, the imagination, the thoughts, the drama, engaging the chaos, and all the things that it plays. You were just saying in so many words that they're not sticking. They're not sticking anymore. So if that's not sticking, now you have the past, the future, and now time, and then space. I mean, everything's going our direction. I was particularly excited, and maybe I was not coming from an objective standpoint, but when I saw you get on, it was, as everything seems to be more sequentially making sense. It was like a huge jolt of what you said later, which is the switch is on. And if it's not on, it will be on on the back end of what we've just all done. Is that what you're talking about in terms of May 15th? Because, what you were saying earlier, when I called Jason Estes about this and to see if he wanted to collaborate, that's the first thing he told me. He said the same thing you did, but basically in his own language, he said, so for you to be doing it, you're going to be at the peak. It's that Soulogy Fest will be at the peak.
Yeah, because it's the switching on.
The switch on, yeah.
Yeah, the burst that's coming through is the middle of the month, and we'll
so
be
what kind of burst? So what kind of burst is it? Do you know? I mean, can you?
Yeah, it's really the burst of energy that's coming in is really to turn us on even more, and we're talking about our essence turn on, rather than our so-called perceptional idea of turn on, and so forth. So it's really bringing to the forefront your sourceness, your essence. The other thing is too, and I wanted to mention two little parts to what we just said before, and then I'll lead it back into that. And that is, I'll get into that. When you're in the moment, because source only operates in the moment. Your spirit essence only operates in the moment. So that's your creative ability. When you are in the past, you're in manifesting mode. When you're in the future, you're in manifesting mode. When you're in the moment, you're in creator mode.
Right.
Creator creates. So what's going to be switched on is you're going into that creative mode more powerfully. And that is where the first burst that comes in around the 15th, 15, 16, up to the 18th of May. And then getting our feet stable with that. And then, showing up at the end of the month, more aligned with your creator essence or your creator abilities and capabilities within yourself. So that's, and it also brings back the reminder that you are more than this physical form. But the one thing I want to mention is that, and I know I've shared it before, but the thing is, we're never undermining the human experience or the human body or the human expression, because that is very instrumental, because the sourceness is to work through that. Is to actually, that's how you create the crystallization of that part. Because going into June, basically, there's a lot that needs to be changed, but it has to be through us. And so that means that we need to be more in our creator abilities or creative capacities. And that's why 15, 16, 17, 18, and then coming right up to Soulogy, and then going into January, where, the turned on creators that are in human form are going to be playing an even more active and powerful role moving on in June.
Yeah.
Right. So
far out, man.
Yeah, to point out exactly what it's going to look like. I mean, I got a glimpse of it, but it can upgrade along the way. And those guys are really feeling that, because when we look at the world the way it is right now, it's reflecting the very old world. And many of us have given, and I don't mean all of us at this point, but all of us to some degree or another have still given power to that old world. It doesn't, how you can tell? The moment you hear something like, oh, the lockdown or this, or we have to have the passport to do whatever, just notice how it feels. If it takes you down or feels like concern or this and that, then
it is what it is.
First of all, it shows a little bit of the old you, and that's okay. It's great to recognize it. But we also notice in the moment you shift in that, you're giving it a little bit more life, all of us to some degree. But this is the point right now. And right now we're going through this whole wave that started a while ago. But until the middle of the month, before we get that burst, and we'll prepare us even further that no matter what's going on the planet, we're not going to be affected in any way, shape, or form to any degree any longer. And it doesn't mean you switch on 100%. You will be switched on. What you're going to use, how you're going to use it, and so forth. will, come in further, but you will notice it's going to feel a lot more different in the sense of not only empowerment, but in the sense of, okay, we're going to start taking the driver's seat of what is experienced on the planet right now, rather than how it's been before.
There you go. That's it right there. Man, it to me, and I'm not, so let me get this right. I can't even comprehend that there is a conversation being had with 200 plus people and whatever replay, because there's no linear, is happening in more than this place. And I'm not saying that because this is something special. I'm just thinking, man, if there was 10 or 100 or 1,000 of these things happening, I mean, the way this energy and everything else is showing itself, the whole globe would be lit up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in a heartbeat. So when you say anything could happen instantaneously, I and again with the switch thing, the solar flare switch thing. I know you weren't referring to that, but I'm just making that connection. That it is almost like electrical field coming in, just.
Yep.
So I think we're going to see some of those little switches.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the people that are going to be joining the Soulogy Fest are preparing themselves to be part of it, and they will play their role. And is it going to play out? Push a few buttons here and there, if that's the case. But yes, and but at the same time, it's going to be very powerful in the sense of people are going to feel, that presence within themselves, and the petty stuff that normally, things of this nature, of these type of gatherings bring up, will not be perpetuated or even supported in any way, shape, or form. So that even if there's a little teeny bit here and there, or bits and pieces of it, it will shift so fast, you won't even notice that it's there. So this is the beauty of where we're at now compared to any period of time. And had you done this in 2017 or 2018 or 2019 or 2020, it would have never been the same as what we are in 2021.
No, it's a sign that's happening everywhere, and I'm sure there's other things like this happening on or about this date. But it's also the that week. Well, while we're there, it'll be 10 years. 10 years at 1:11 in the morning on the 30th, which will be whatever that is, Sunday. That's 10 years from when I had my wake up experience. And Jesus came in the trees and we had a conversation, and next day I went to jail and the whole thing started. But who was it that was telling me? Was it you? No, it was Christy Grace. Will be 25-year anniversary from when she was called to Sedona.
Right.
On that same day. So, I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. To me, it's like, sometimes you get on a path and you want to run, and sometimes you just want to walk. There's something about this one. I was actually shown this last night. I was shown, let me see if I can describe it. So I was basically said, okay, let's go back to your out-of-body experience. And do you remember how you had you didn't walk? It was a glide.
Mm-hmm.
There was no like a human. There was a glide. So basically I was put into that space because I remembered, and then I was told, okay, now look at yourself gliding. And I look down and I see the two legs going.
Yeah.
Right. But I can't feel them.
Right.
And so they said, so imagine that you are, in this container, and the elements of the true nature of your being are coming into the fold. There's at a minimum going to be a period of time when you're actually going to see the legs moving, but you're going to feel them less, and you're going to feel them less, and you're going to feel them less. It was quite impactful, because I know the multidimensional aspect of it, because there's so many parallels that are expanding.
Yep.
Which just makes it further mind blowing.
Yep.
So Soulogy Fest, we're gonna have a meeting tomorrow, I think, and we got a couple things to nail down and really tighten it up, and we're gonna hit it really hard after this week. It's going to be very unique. It's going to be very much a mixed but connected change in diversity of frequencies and styles, and we're going to remix stuff. And I came down here today. There's been a lot of weird stuff happening with these integrations, but came down here today, and I'm sitting here doing what I was doing last night for part of the time and singing in this primordial sacred voice that I've never, it didn't even sound like me. And it went on for like 20 minutes. And I understood everything it said, every single phonics involved, every phonetical, yeah. So who knows what's going to happen in 6 weeks? I think it's going to be special though.
Well, the thing is, we can have a general idea, but remember, we're all getting fine tuned. I mean, I'm not saying just for the Soulogy Fest. It's for all of us are being fine tuned. So by the time that unfolds, even on the day off, okay, of the day that it starts, the Friday where there's going to be certain speakers coming up and so forth. It's going to be right up to that moment how it's going to be expressed, what's going to come through, because there's going to be upgrading right to the second. And then even while it's happening, it's being upgraded. We never know what we're going to say, when we're going to say, whatever it is. But at that point in time, more than ever, because it doesn't matter what type of a script we may have created in our head. Okay, I'm going to talk about this, this, and that. It's going to be exactly what everybody needs at that time. And it's upgrading along. So the fact that there's been a confirmation, and there'll be others possibly along the way, that who's going to be participating and so forth, there's already an alignment for all the parties there, so that not anybody's going to diverse so wildly in difference in frequency. Each one is going to complement the next, and so
That's
forth.
Right. Yeah.
So that creates a beautiful, the canvas is not just throwing paint on there because I like that color and I don't like this color. It's going to be designed so that it creates a masterpiece, and that's
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about at the next meeting, as opposed to, not that we won't, but as opposed to 3D nuts and bolts. But I think that's really important. That's one of the things that has presented itself. So I think it's a time that we all have a council and say, what do you think? But it's along the lines of what you said. It's that same space of don't force it, let it flow, and don't push the panic button, even if it gets to the 11th hour, but
the thing is too, Todd, a lot of times we get involved in trying to organize everything. I mean, yes, we're going to have to do that for sure. But they're trying to say, okay, this is exactly how it's going to go, and trying to use a stopwatch, timing it, this is this and this is that. That micromanaging of what people call it actually will impede the creativity and imagination. So the thing is, it's not going to be unsustainable. So it has to be fluid. It's going to be developed along the way. Yeah. There's some guidelines and stuff like that, but it's going to just allow it to flow, because that's the way it has to be. That's natural. That's our natural state. The other way is not.
That's the way that the schedule's designed for really what is 4 days, because we have a 5-hour on Memorial Day at the Chocolate Tree. And that's free, by the way. The way the schedule's designed, it's got, I don't know what it is. The 3 days is probably 22 hours or something like that. And there's probably 16 hours. It's pliable. It's just, we've got some music, we got some people, we got some talkers, we got some dancers, we got whatever. and just let it flow with, with the foundational points
Right.
implanted in there, people that we've collaborated with and that have been a part of Soulogy, like Franco and Jason, Eric Smith, and, the different people. So it's going to be, I've always looked at Soulogy as I've understood it, to go out and create a mirror of the universe.
Yes.
Knowing that you're never going to hit perfection, but if you strive for it, you're going to get pretty damn close. And so that's the kind of the human as the hero energy, because at some point when the human can look at itself as a hero, that's that space of creator in the now. And so that's all I'm interested in, because yeah, can I reach through the ethers and grab Morgan right now, as I'm thinking about doing, but I better not, because she's, I think, still at the airport. Or can I do whatever? But it still comes back to the same thing. Here I am right now. What can I do, to expand myself, to expand others, and to expand humanity / the universe? And there's a field of opportunity that we've all created through this mind-blowing, which I have more respect for every day, this mind-blowing realm, where we can, we can unify those 3 points in equal contribution. And as you've explained several times in many different ways over the years, when you do that, there's an immediate reciprocation, and that's the one that it's connected to. That's the one that's connected to, like you were saying earlier.
Yep. And the thing is, I wanted to add one thing, the word that you said there, it's not perfect, and we are, going through the perfection part. I'm not contradicting you in any way, but what I wanted to expand in is that each level that you're in, or anybody at this point in time, or anything that we're doing, is perfect.
That's right.
What we're doing is expanding perfect, and we're increasing other parts to the perfection. But that's it. It's always perfect from day one. You cannot be imperfect.
Of course.
There's no way, right?
Yeah, of course.
We adopted the idea of that. So, but
like you said, it is a higher perfection. So therefore, no, I totally get what you're saying, and I agree with you 100%. But and I love this because it's going to get poetic. But it's like, so if you strive for perfection, we're the perfect imperfection, and that is the perfection. Because when I lay my head on the pillow tonight and I say, I know the truth, and I'm in alignment with all my aspects. Well, something happens as you're sleeping and you're mingling with all those things. There's merging and union and expansion of those things that you've created. And when you wake up as a conscious human, there's a higher truth. So the same goes for, and I love what you said. I'm going to have to write a little something for that.
I'm sure you will.
Perfect imperfection. Franco, it's always a pleasure. I really enjoy the growth and the evolution of our relationship and this connection and what it means to Soulogy, because as far as I'm concerned, you're as much, and you and Kimberly are as much a part of Soulogy as anyone. And but it's all about, forget the labels. It's all about just sharing the space and taking, that real time, conversation and intel and openness, and just sharing it like we're all sitting in a room talking. Because after all, it looks like me and Franco, but it's you talking to one of us.
Exactly.
Whoever's watching, they're the ones. They're actually both, actually. But I'll see you next time.
Yeah, I will,
much.
And look forward to. I think next time we're connecting with Michael too. So.
I saw that.
No. Yeah, we have 2 back to back. Friday, I think. Not this Friday. Next Friday.
Franco and Michael Mejia. That's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Well, right when Morgan was the day, she was late yesterday. It seems like forever, but yesterday she mentioned that. She goes, "Wouldn't that be cool?" And whenever she says that, I know it's going to be. But that was quick, so that'll be excellent. Yeah. I'll see you soon.
We get to play together, and then we get to play with Michael too. So we'll see how that all goes. But go have a blast, guys.
All right. Right on. Thank you, Franco. See you later.